You've paid into Social Security for decades. Every paycheck, money came out before you ever saw it. You didn't get a vote, it just disappeared into a system that made you a promise. And now you're closing in on 62. And every financial article, every advisor in a suit is telling you the same thing. Wait, wait until 67. Better yet, 70. You'll get more money per month. They're not wrong about the per month part. So, why did 31% of eligible Americans in 2024 file the moment they turned 62? Were they all bad at math? No. They understood something the spreadsheets don't show you. And by the end of this video, you will too. Let's get into it. Number one, the break-even math is not in your favor if you don't live long enough. This is the one everybody skips over because it's uncomfortable. If you file at 62, your monthly check gets reduced by 30% compared to waiting until 67. On a benefit of $1,800 a month at full retirement age, that drops to around $1,260 at 62. That's a real cut. To put this in 2026 numbers, the maximum Social Security benefit at age 62 this year is $2,969 per month. At full retirement age of 67, it's $4,152. And at age 70, it's $5,181. So yes, waiting gives you a bigger check. Nobody disputes that. But here's what the wait until 70 crowd never mentions. You start collecting 60 months earlier. That's 5 full years of checks hitting your bank account while the person who waited gets nothing. By the time your friend turns 67 and starts collecting that bigger check, you've already received over $75,000 in Social Security payments. They're starting from zero, and the math to catch up takes longer than you'd think. The break-even point between filing at 62 versus 67 lands around age 78 to 79. Meaning, if you pass away before 79, you would have collected more total money by starting at 62. And the break-even between 62 and 70 pushes to roughly age 80 to 81. Think about that. If you don't make it to your early 80s, waiting actually cost you money. Not saved you money, cost you. Now, nobody wants to think about their own mortality over breakfast, but look at your family tree. Look at your parents, your grandparents. If your father died at 71 and your grandfather at 74, the actuarial tables are telling you something the retirement industry doesn't want you to hear. The math starts to lean heavily toward taking the money now, and this next reason makes that decision even clearer. Number two, your body might not give you a choice. A report from the Economic Policy Institute found that roughly 50% of workers between age 50 and 70 hold jobs that are either physically demanding or high pressure. We're talking construction, nursing, warehouse work, long-haul trucking, factory floors, teaching, law enforcement, landscaping, plumbing. The list is long. These are not jobs where you just decide to keep going until 70 because a retirement calculator told you to. Your knees decide, your back decides, your blood pressure decides. One commenter on a retirement research forum summed it up perfectly. He said he worked unskilled hard labor his entire life. By 62, he was ready. His body was done. He also had a defined benefit pension, lived in a state that doesn't tax pensions or Social Security, and the numbers worked. The 401k, as he put it, was a joke compared to the certainty of guaranteed monthly income starting right now. And the financial planning industry, with all due respect, is largely staffed by people who sit at desks. When your retirement advisor suggests working until 70, they're picturing their own career, not yours. It's easy for an accountant or a software developer to keep going until 70. It's a different conversation entirely for a roofer whose shoulders stopped cooperating 5 years ago. If you've spent 35 years on your feet, or hauling equipment, or managing the stress of other people's emergencies, your body at 62 is not the same machine it was at 45. Filing for Social Security at 62 isn't impatience. It's acknowledging reality. And more than a few people in physically demanding careers don't even make it to 62 to collect at all. That's the part nobody talks about at retirement seminars. And speaking of reality, let's talk about what's coming for Social Security itself. Because this next reason is the one that should make everyone pay attention, no matter what age you plan to file. Number 3, the trust fund has an expiration date, and it's closer than you think. According to the 2025 Social Security Trustees Report, the Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund will be able to pay 100% of scheduled benefits only until 2033. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's not a Reddit post. That's the government's own annual report, published by the people who run the program. Here's why it's happening. In 1960, there were 5.1 workers paying into Social Security for every single person collecting benefits. 5 workers supporting 1 retiree. By 2024, that ratio had dropped to 2.7 workers per beneficiary. And with the baby boomers hitting retirement age at a rate of over 4 million per year, that ratio is only getting worse. After 2033, there will still be money coming in from payroll taxes. Social Security is not going to zero. It can't, because workers are still paying into it every paycheck. But the reserves, the cushion that covers the gap between what comes in and what goes out, will be gone. At that point, if Congress doesn't act, benefits could drop to about 77% of what's currently promised. That's a 23% cut to every beneficiary, regardless of age, regardless of income, regardless of how long you waited. Now pause on that for a second. Imagine you waited 8 years, from 62 to 70, specifically to get a bigger monthly check. You collected your delayed retirement credits. You did everything the experts told you to do. And then in 2033, your benefit gets slashed by 23% anyway. The person who started collecting at 62 in 2026, they received 7 full years of payments before any cuts even touched them. They've already banked well over $100,000 while the person waiting for the optimal age was collecting nothing. Will Congress fix this? Maybe. They've done it before, back in 1983. But the current political environment doesn't exactly inspire confidence in timely action. And the longer Congress waits, the bigger the fix has to be. Either a 29% increase in payroll taxes, or a 22% cut across the board, or some ugly combination of both. That's not fear-mongering. That's the American Academy of Actuaries. A UCLA and Cornell study found that most Americans already believe Social Security is going broke and expect benefits to stop completely. That's actually not accurate, since payroll taxes will always fund a portion. But the fear itself is driving behavior. And filing at 62 means you get the full benefit amount, the pre-cut amount, for as many years as possible before those reserves run dry. That's a strategy, not a panic move. Number 4, your early benefits can work for you in the stock market. This is the reason that makes financial advisors uncomfortable, because it requires admitting something. The 8% per year you gain by delaying Social Security from 67 to 70 sounds impressive. And it is, on paper. That's a guaranteed 24% increase over 3 years. Where else do you get that return? But the comparison isn't that simple. If you take Social Security at 62 and invest even a portion of those monthly payments into a diversified portfolio, your money starts compounding immediately. Over 5 to 8 years, a well-managed portfolio has historically returned 7 to 10% annually. That's not guaranteed, obviously. The stock market has bad years, but averaged over decades, the growth is real. One retiree commenting on a study from Boston College's Center for Retirement Research put it this way. He retired in 2020 and started collecting at 62. The growth in his IRA since then exceeded the delayed retirement credits he would have earned. He may collect less from Social Security each month, but his investment portfolio is larger because of those years of compounding. Now, this strategy isn't for everyone. If you're going to spend every dollar of your Social Security check on groceries and rent, there's nothing left to invest. But if you have other savings, a pension, a 401k, or even part-time income that covers your basics, taking Social Security early and letting it grow somewhere else is a legitimate wealth strategy. The money you don't take at 62 doesn't sit in a vault with your name on it. It just doesn't exist until you file. Every month you wait, that potential income evaporates. If you're finding this video useful, hit subscribe. We break down retirement and money decisions like this every week with the actual numbers, not the sales pitch. Now let's keep going. Number 5, filing. Early unlocks benefits for your spouse. This one gets buried in the fine print, and it matters enormously for married couples. If your spouse plans to claim spousal benefits, they can't file until you're already collecting. A lower earning spouse is entitled to up to 50% of your full retirement age benefit, but that clock doesn't start ticking until you file. By claiming at 62, you open the door for your spouse to start receiving benefits earlier too. And for households running on 2 fixed incomes, that combined cash flow can be the difference between financial stress and financial stability. There's also this: if you pass away, your surviving spouse can switch to your benefit amount if it's higher than theirs. And the sooner both of you start receiving incomes, the sooner you can coordinate your overall retirement strategy instead of one person just sitting and waiting for a hypothetically larger check. And here's something that changed recently. The Social Security Fairness Act, signed into law on January 5th, 2025, eliminated 2 provisions that had been quietly reducing benefits for millions of public sector workers for decades. Teachers, firefighters, police officers, and federal workers who had pensions from jobs not covered by Social Security were getting penalized. That's no longer the case. As of mid-2025, the Social Security Administration had distributed over $17 billion in adjusted payments to 3.1 million beneficiaries affected by the old rules. If you or your spouse worked in public service and haven't checked your benefit recently, now is the time. Your numbers may have changed significantly. Smart retirement planning for couples isn't about maximizing one person's check. It's about maximizing household income over both lifetimes. And sometimes the move that does that is the one the calculators call suboptimal. Number 6, you can retire into your healthiest years instead of your sickest ones. This is the reason nobody puts on the spreadsheet, because you can't assign it a dollar value. But ask anyone who retired at 62 versus someone who pushed to 70, and they'll tell you the difference is night and day. At 62, statistically, you're more likely to be mobile, active, and clear-headed. You can travel. You can play with your grandchildren without needing a break every 20 minutes. You can finally build that workshop, start that garden, take that trip to Italy you've been postponing since your 40s. At 70, maybe you can still do all of that, but maybe your hips say otherwise. Maybe your energy runs out by 2 p.m. Maybe the trip to Italy is now a trip to the cardiologist. The entire retirement planning industry treats your senior years as one interchangeable block. They're not. A dollar spent on a trip at 63 buys a completely different experience than a dollar spent on the same trip at 73. Your healthy years have a premium, and they're non-refundable. Now, there is one important thing to keep in mind if you file at 62. You can't sign up for Medicare until age 65. That leaves a 3-year gap where you need an alternative source of healthcare coverage. Whether that's a spouse's employer plan, COBRA, the healthcare marketplace, or a private policy, you need to plan for that gap. It's not a deal breaker, but it is a line item you need to account for. There's also the earnings test. If you're still working and earning income while collecting Social Security before your full retirement age, your benefits can be temporarily reduced. In 2026, if you earn more than $24,480, $1 in benefits gets withheld for every $2 you earn above that limit. After you reach full retirement age, those withheld benefits get added back to your monthly check, so you don't lose the money permanently, but it can affect your cash flow in the short term. And here's the tax angle. If you stop working at 62, your income drops. That can put you in a lower tax bracket, which means less of your Social Security gets taxed. Up to 85% of Social Security benefits can be subject to federal income tax if your combined income crosses certain thresholds. Lower income means lower taxes. Simple. And during the 2008 recession, roughly 36% of eligible men and 39% of eligible women filed at 62 for one reason. They needed the money. The economy wasn't asking them to wait for the optimal age. Life doesn't ask you to wait. Number 7, the psychological case for taking the money is stronger than you think. Researchers at Boston College studied why people claim Social Security at 62, even when the math says waiting would produce more total dollars over a lifetime. They found something interesting. It wasn't ignorance. It was loss aversion. When people were shown the monthly benefit amount they'd receive at different ages, most said they'd prefer to wait for the bigger check. That makes sense on the surface. Bigger number, better deal. But when a different group was shown the total lifetime benefits, the accumulated total of all their checks added up, something shifted. The people who saw that the total by age 85 starting at 62 came to around $353,000, while waiting until 70 produced about $402,000, actually chose to claim earlier. Seeing the larger lifetime total made them more anxious about losing it if they died before reaching the break-even point. And that's not irrational. That's human. You've worked your entire life for this money. The idea that you could die at 74 and leave $80,000 of uncollected benefits on the table is not just a math problem. It's a gut-level fear, and it's a valid one. There's also this quiet truth that nobody in the retirement industry wants to say out loud. You earned this, every paycheck, every year, from your first summer job to your last day of work. Social Security isn't a gift. It's not welfare. It's money you paid in, with a promise that it would be there when you needed it. Taking it at 62 is not a failure. It's a choice. And for millions of Americans, it's the right one. One more thing worth knowing. Whatever age you start collecting, your benefit isn't frozen in time. Every year, Social Security applies a cost of living adjustment. In 2026, that COLA is 2.8%, which translates to an extra $56 per month for the average retiree. It's not a fortune, but it compounds year over year. And the earlier you start, the more years of COLA adjustments you accumulate. Your check at 62 doesn't stay at 62 levels forever. It grows. So here's where things stand. Every financial situation is different. If you're healthy, love your job, and your family regularly makes it to 95, waiting might genuinely work in your favor. No argument there. But if your knees ache by Thursday, if your family history is shorter than the industry assumes, if you've watched the trust fund projections and you'd rather lock in full benefits while they're still being paid in full, then filing at 62 isn't a mistake. It's a strategy. The real question isn't whether 62 is too early, it's whether 70 is too late for you. If this changed how you think about your Social Security decision, subscribe. Next week, we're covering the 5 biggest retirement mistakes people make in their first year. And number 3 is the one nobody sees coming. That video is on screen now.